In fact, you can make that tea and croissant or whatever it is, make it mobile. Bring it with you. But please, let's begin to make our way back into the hall because we want to commence the next session. Very quickly, we want to call on the representative of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Abia State, Dr. Alex Chioma Oti, OFR, in the person of Honorable Ihai Frank Chinaza. In fact, the Abia State team is two-pronged. No, sit, sir. Just a minute, just sit. We have also, just to indicate how high-powered the Abia State team is, we also have the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture of the state, the Honorable Clifford Agbeze. He is around, also backing the representative of His Excellency, the Governor. So at this point in time, let me take the liberty to invite Honorable Ihai Frank Chinaza to give the remarks of His Excellency, Dr. Alex Chioma Oti, OFR, the Executive Governor of Abia State. A round of applause for him, please. For those who are still at the rear having a conversation, I see Professor Toromade. Yes. I will call your name if I have to. Please, let's move in and fill up the seats. While that is going on, Extension Africa's screenplay can dominate this place after His Excellency's remarks. His Excellency, sir.
Thank you very much.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address us today. I want to start my remarks by thanking His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Ahmed B. Tinubu, GCFR, for making all this possible and ensuring that he puts plans in place for us to become food sufficient in this country. The Minister for Agriculture, Ministry of Livestock Development, the Consul General from the General Consulate of Denmark, permit me to use you to recognize other missions here, other foreign missions here present. Members of the National Assembly here present, permit me to stand on existing protocol. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, development partners, it's indeed a great joy to stand before you to deliver remarks and greetings from my dear Governor, Dr. Alex Chioma Oti, OFR, the Executive Governor of the Abia State. This crucial dialogue focused on unlocking finance for agricultural transformation in Africa. This conversation is not only timely, it is essential. Across Africa, agriculture remains our most important economic sector, yet it faces the greatest funding constraints. Without adequate funding, we cannot modernize farming and empower our youths or achieve food security. Of course, you know, no country in the world can be truly independent if it's not food sufficient, if it cannot feed its people. The Abia perspective. In Abia State, our administration is fully committed to reviving agriculture as a driver of inclusive economic growth. Guided by the principles of renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, we are working to create an environment where agriculture thrives through innovation, investment, and integrity. We especially thank His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for dividing up the ministry and providing dedicated funding towards achieving our food sufficiency goal. We are deepening collaboration with NADA, development partners, and the private sector to open up more arable land, support agro-business clusters, and attract finance to the rural communities. The goal is clear. We'll move our people from subsistence farming to profitable agro-business. To truly unlock agricultural finance in Africa, three things are critical: de-risking agricultural lending through credit guarantees and insurance schemes, building strong public-private partnerships that align the states and the federal investment, empowering the youths and women with access to tailored financing and digital solutions. When these pillars stand firm, agriculture will no longer be seen as a survival venture, but as a sustainable business opportunity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Africa's agricultural transformation depends on our collective will to finance its future. As His Excellency Governor Alex Otti often emphasizing, true development begins when we make productivity profitable. Let us therefore unlock the financial doors that will open Africa's farm to prosperity. Together, we can grow a continent that fits itself, and by extension, the world. Thank you, and may God bless Africa, Nigeria, and Abia states.
Thank you so much indeed for those heartwarming remarks coming from His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Abia State. True development begins when we make productivity profitable. Words on the marble. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to do some housekeeping before I call up the next set of engagers in this business of agenda setting for the continent of Africa. I want to recognize some men of timber and caliber in the agricultural ecosystem of Nigeria. Businessmen in themselves, because farming, agricultural production is in itself a business. Those folks we call smallholder farmers are businessmen and women in their own rights. Alhaji Bello Anor is here. He is president of the Maize Farmers Association of Nigeria, ably supporting the president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, who is here presenting himself. Mr. Nibe Achimogu is also president of the Cotton Farmers Association of Nigeria, NACOTAN. He's here supporting the president of AFAN. Also, the representative of the president of NAIDA, the National Association of Input Dealers Association of Nigeria, is the public relations officer of the association. Is he here? Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to call up this next panel. Excited in every sense to do this, because this panel is themed Business Unusual, co-creating blended financing solutions for inclusive investments. It's going to be populated by Dr. Mel Olwach, Director, Strategic Partnerships, Sasakawa Africa Association, Nairobi, Kenya. Yes, doctor, please come up here. The next is Mr. Mohammed Abu Ibrahim, the Executive Secretary of the National Agricultural Development Fund, NADF. Is he here? Excellent. ably represented by a man that I have known for a long, long time. Dr. Ernest Ihedibo, from the times when he headed the Agric desk of First Bank PLC, to when he was off to roles in Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, NERSAL, and then into the development ecosystem. And as you can see, I've been tracking you. Right now to his involvement in NADF. It gives me real joy to see that folks like this are still, doing what they do best to ensure that the agricultural sector of Nigeria keeps up its play. The next on that is, on the panel is Dr. Lekan Tobe, Nigeria Country Director for HEIFA International. Dr. Lekan Tobe, please. Correct. I see a red cap chief moving. Is that for HEIFA? Correct. Please, a round of applause for HEIFA. Incidentally, one of our core, support framework for this activity. A real partner indeed. Finally, but not closing out the prospects, Mr. Olugbenga Awe. Benga has been around for a bit. I can tell you that for free. Young as he is, he's done serious things with himself. Please, a round of applause for him. Former group head, Structured Trade and Commodities Finance, the Alternative Bank of Nigeria. I had to drag him from an international trip that I was making. Let me just put it out here, to be here. Thank you, Benga, for loving your country more than your convenience. And I should say your continent even more than your convenience. To set the tone for this plenary, I have none other than a great friend of mine, Dr. Shemal Pereira. Shemal is Director of Strategic Partnerships, is Group CEO and Founder, Agri Nexus International, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. No, please don't clap like this. The man came out of his holiday and picked a ticket and got here because we asked him to. Shemal, thank you so much. He has some slides he wants to speak to, and it bears, listening to, please. Shemal, it's yours now. The podium is yours.
Hi there, good afternoon to all of you. It's a great pleasure to be here today, and I wanted to sort of start by giving an introduction to our panelists, and then sort of diving into the questions with regards to financing, and thereafter sharing with you some of the difficulties that we face with regards to finance, even for a commercial company such as what we do. But before we go into that light, let me just start by getting my panelists to introduce themselves. I think Dr. Lekan Tobe is not here. So the representative of HEIFA is Mr. Chin Wu Ba, and your surname again it's a bit difficult to pronounce, but go ahead.
All right. Hi, Shemal. Hi, everyone. My name is Chuba Ezegwe. I'm the communications manager for HEIFA International in Nigeria, and I'm representing Dr. Lekan on the panel. Thank you.
Okay, so that we've got that right. So everyone on the table now is properly introduced and properly represented. So let me just start with Chuba. Give us a little bit of an intro of what, for some of us who do not know, including myself. I'm sorry to say I've just learned what they do, and it's very interesting. Can you give us at least a 5 minutes introduction to your company and yourself and what you guys do in Nigeria and in Africa as well?
All right, HEFA International is a not-for-profit, founded about 81 years ago, headquartered in the US. In Africa, we've been around for about 50 years, but just under 5 years in Nigeria. HEFA's work is around partnering with smallholder farmers to grow their capacity and essentially to end hunger and poverty. And we do this across different levels. I'll focus on Nigeria. In Nigeria, we work across various value chains, rice, tomatoes, poultry, livestock, small ruminants, and our focus is across a number of products. One, access to market. We do this in a number of ways. I'm sure as the discussions expand, I'll break it down a bit more. One, access to finance. I've mentioned access to market, access to climate smart services. And we have a huge chunk of partners that we collaborate with. Primarily, we're present in about 12 states, directly in 5, and through our partners, including Extension Africa that I was speaking earlier, and a few others that are in the room. Essentially, our goal is to unlock Nigeria's capacity around food sufficiency and sovereignty, as a good number of speakers have mentioned. Co-create as much as possible, align with national priorities, align with pan-continental priorities, but more significantly, create tailored products that are contextualized and that really speak to the needs of the farmers. And that's how we even approach our unlocking of innovative financing. We approach it not necessarily with what's worked in other climes, but what's worked in other climes that's applicable in our own climate. So in co-creating, we ensure that it's contextualized and that the farmers, the smallholder farmers who are our primary clients, are involved even in creating solutions to their own problems. I remember when Richard started in the morning, he said, conversations have happened across the world regarding problems in Africa without Africans. Mm-hmm. But now we're discussing African problems with Africans. So that's our approach in programming. We leverage data a lot. And one of the things we're known for across Africa and in Nigeria is how much emphasis we place in the young people. So one of our flagship projects is called Ayute. I'm sure there's Ayute enthusiasts in the room. Ayute means agriculture, youth, and technology. Ayute is huge for HEFA. It's implemented across 2 trajectories, the regional, Ayute, and the national. National happens across 9 countries in Africa. The Honorable Minister of Livestock was with us at Abuja Continental in May when during the Ayute Nigeria Grand Finale. So at the national level, we make some level of grants available to young agri-tech entrepreneurs. Extension Africa was presenting some minutes ago. Extension Africa was the national winner of Ayute 3 years ago. You see how much it's grown since then. A little injection of $20,000 did wonders for his innovation and his company, and now he's at stages like this, speaking. We were with him in Dakar as well. So Ayute, what we do with Ayute at the national level is to crowd in young people with great ideas, give them that little push, right? And watch them grow, and also provide technical support as they continue to grow. But at the regional level, where we're targeting startups at the national level, at the regional level, we target growth stage companies. And we make $1.5 million across Africa, targeting growth stage companies. We've had previous winners like Code Hubs, Hello Tractor, Thrive Agric, and all of that. So while we do all of the things we do, there's a huge focus for us on the young people, because the future of everything that we're going to discuss here today, and even things we've talked about up until now, the sustainability is built around the strength of the young ones, and as an organization that drives us a lot. Thank you.
Great. How many of us here have heard about Ayute? Ayute? Is that Ayute?
Yeah,
right?
Ayute.
Ayute? Anyone heard of Ayute? There you go. Excellent. So there are people here who have heard of Ayute. Well done. Can we go and get, again, a nice introduction from the next speaker? Can I call on Mel, Dr. Mel? Let's hear your experience with regards to funding in Africa, in Nigeria in particular.
Thank you very much, Shemo. Yeah, my name is Mel Oroch. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Sasakawa Africa Association. I'm originally from Kenya, but I'm based in Addis Ababa Ethiopia. Sasakawa as an organization is an extension organization. We are one of the premier extension organizations focusing our work mainly in Africa, founded 40 years ago by former President of the US, Jimmy Carter, and Norman Borlaug, the father of the Green Revolution, and Eorichi Sasakawa, whose name you've adopted, who's the chairman of the Nippon Foundation of Japan. So we have both a very strong Japan and American roots. We focus on agriculture, technology transfer, taking technologies to scale, and we do it in a massive way across Africa. Our focus is in critical areas or critical pillars like regenerative agriculture to drive up productivity, nutrition-sensitive agriculture and post-harvest systems to improve nutrition and food quality, market-oriented agriculture, to engage farmers in farming as a business enterprise. Then we support this through capacity building, which is a very big program of ours, where we collaborate with 34 universities in Africa to train agriculture extension personnel from the ministries of agriculture, and these are the teams who we work with on the ground to scale up all these technologies. Then we embed digital transformation and inclusivity, working with youth, women, and people with disability, who are some of our focus groups where we engage them to engage in farming as a business enterprise. So we've been working in 17 countries in Africa, focusing largely in Nigeria, Ethiopia, Mali, and Uganda, and also across other countries. That is what we do. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Mel, well done. Again, the contribution with regards to funding in all of these countries are again, quite commendable. And again, you've been in the industry for almost 40 years, as I hear. So that's very, very great. Good stuff. Can I move to the next person? Ernest, you're representing Mr. Muhammad Abu Ibrahim, who's not here today, for NAVD. Can you give us an introduction to what you do and the company and how you take funding into African countries, such as Nigeria?
Thank you very much. We consider this a very fine opportunity because the theme of this convening around blended finance is something that speaks to the mandate of the National Agriculture Development Fund. First, let me give a background of the National Agriculture Development Fund. It is that agency that was created by the National Assembly Act number 34 of 2022. It came into operation in 2023. The purpose of which is to stimulate the flow of finance for the development of the agricultural sector. And so why a fund again? We have commercial finance institutions, we have development finance institutions, and yet we have this agency. And that helps us see that the interest is not just finance for the sake of finance, but actual development of the agricultural sector. So looking at all those abiding constraints to successful deployment of finance in the agricultural sector, to see how systemic solutions can be created, and that will open that avenue for steady flow of sustainable, affordable finance. And so we look out for successful models. We work with stakeholders across the agricultural value chain, from research and development to original equipment manufacturing and inputs handling, to logistics, infrastructure, storage, particularly irrigation and water management, all the way to industrialization and processing and trade. So all the constraints that lie within these areas. And identifying solutions to them and creating financing models that serve the need of various stakeholders along that chain. And for now, the model is focused around 4 key areas, 4 key pillars, one of which is inputs. What can we do to ensure that high quality inputs that are site and enterprise specific are available to smallholder farmers to increase productivity? And in the area of infrastructure, what can we do to move agricultural production away from the rain-fed system so that we have multiple cropping cycles and again increase productivity? And what about mechanization? So as to drive efficiency, again, increase productivity. Of course, we have instances where we have challenges, systemic challenges in terms of random events in the environment that present risk to the agricultural sector. What can we do in a proactive way to position for such risks as opposed to reacting to them when they happen by way of emergency support? So these are the areas where blended finance become very critical. What can we do so as to attract private capital so as to meet these needs and ensure that the sector is sufficiently de-risked for efficiency and increased productivity? And so this is our approach at catalyzing financing for sustainable development in the agricultural sector. And it is a Nigerian project for now, but of course we are collaborating with regional bodies. We are collaborating with the African Development Bank and other partners, hoping that this model, when established, can be scaled across the continent. And we're also open to cross-border solutions that have worked, so that given the size of the industry here in Nigeria, those successful models that have been piloted in various parts of Africa can be proven in a larger space, and then, of course, create a corridor for exposing those solutions to the global community, to the world community. That's our approach. Thank you.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And again, when you say provide solutions, there are also fund allocation that you've got, which you are also allowing people to apply for funds in order to do all of these things.
That's right.
That which is excellent. Right.
That's right.
And Mr. Benga, can I call on you to give a little introduction about where you come from and what you do?
Okay, good afternoon, and thanks for having me here. My background is in finance. In the last 3 years, I've left conventional banking to focus on non-interest banking, also known as Islamic finance. So you see me at the intersection of finance and commodities. As a matter of fact, the whole idea of looking at that side of the coin is to see how we can use non-interest banking to catalyze support for agric, because the uniqueness of the franchise is the fact that it supports that sector. So I play in exports, I play in commodities trading, commodities finance, and more importantly, we're looking at what we can do to support the youth population in terms of investment in the commodity space. So I also play in digital assets and also tokenization, because if Nigerian account for 65% of the crypto market in Africa, it's not for lack of opportunities. When you see our youth, if they want to invest, some of them are into gaming, right? That can't take them anywhere, because there's lack of investable instruments that young people can invest in and they can get decent yield. So my contribution today will be speaking on non-interest, how that can support blended finance, how we can also use structure like commodities exchange to drive agribusiness. The conversation is about Africa agricultural dialogue. It's beyond farmer, right? Because in the space of agribusiness, you have exporters, you have farmers, you have a lot of value chain operators. And apart from linking agriculture to trade, we also need to link agriculture to capital markets. I remember just a few weeks ago, I led the team to raise non-interest commercial paper. The entity has been raising funds in the conventional commercial paper. The last one they raised in April, they raised 20 billion at 28%. You know, normally commercial paper is 270 days. So we went into the non-interest commercial paper, right? That's the Islamic capital market. Just to test the water that let's do something interesting in this space. So we got a mandate to raise 5 billion, strictly to support aggregation of commodities because harvest season is coming. Guess what? We raised 10 billion. So that's 200% over subscription. At what the share of profit is just 24%. So that means the entity, the usual that went to raise that fund, were able to save about 4% in terms of cost of debt. Then we did Series 1 and Series 2. Series 2, we did that one at 25% share of profit. And for 360 days, for exporters, for farmers, for commodity traders, they will appreciate what 90 days mean because that's a trade cycle. So if you are getting money at a longer tenor, at shorter, at lesser cost of debt, you will be very competitive. The good thing is when we did that, I'm glad you came from Malaysia. We got a call from Securities Commission of Malaysia. I actually came back from Islamic capital market at Durham Business School to see how we can also galvanize financiers out there because I also work with the Islamic Corporation for Development of the Private Sector. We also work with International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation, ITFC, ICD, to see how we can change the paradigm from just the typical conventional banking model to find an alternative way of doing this business. So I hope I will have time today to share my experience in terms of what we've done in non-interest banking, export, and also using commodity exchange to revitalize the value chain that is currently broken. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So I hope all of you all are also chalking in some questions for us because we are eager to answer questions and get the ball rolling with regards to funding. I guess these are some of the money people that is in front of you. So if you want money, now is the time to ask for it. And they'll be ready to engage. I just want to give a little bit of an introduction to who I am. That word Malaysia has just come up, and in most instances when somebody listens to Malaysia, they always turn around to me and say that I stole the palm that was here, the palm oil that was here in Nigeria and taken it to Malaysia. And that's common, and I have the same thing when I go to other African countries such as Ghana or Sierra Leone. I get blamed for where we are with regards to the palm industry. I'm a farmer. This is a very strange place for me to be. I'm actually quite irritated with these clothes because normally I am with the jeans and t-shirt in the farm, in palm oil plantation or either a coconut plantation. This environment is actually quite cold for me because it's different than how it is in the farm. Some of our experience in Malaysia with regards to agriculture development that we have done extremely well. And I'm more than sure that if you basically have had an exposure to what Malaysia is today and where they were 50 years ago when we came here and took your oil palm, don't quote me on that. But, you would see that we've actually done quite well. I must say it is completely due to oil palm, and how we have structured that crop to be where it is today. 50% of our land bank in Malaysia is occupied with oil palm. If you today fly into Kuala Lumpur, as soon as you finish the sea part of approaching to Kuala Lumpur, you will now come to see a sea of oil palm before you reach the airport. So that's where we are. And funnily enough, over the years, we had then gone over to Indonesia and developed oil palm in Indonesia. Today, Indonesia is the biggest producer of oil palm, beating Malaysia I think for the last 5 years in terms of exports and producing. And they have done extremely well. Some of the questions that we are raised or I'm asked, can we do the same here in Africa? Can we do the same in Nigeria with regards to oil palm? Now, of course, oil palm brings a lot of arguments with regards to sustainability and deforestation. Those are the parameters that needs to be followed, and currently countries, Malaysia and Indonesia, Thailand, we are trying to comply in a large extent. Most of the large companies are doing quite well with regards to sustainability and not going into the forests for development of land bank. And in the same sense, we'll also have to now apply those characteristics here, in Nigeria and as well as in Africa. I want to cheat my fellow colleagues here. I'm cheating them because I've got a small presentation. That's why I'm the last. So I want to put a small presentation, about 5 or 6 slides, and I want to actually bring up some of the issues that we have with regards to financing in Africa, and try our level best to see how we can mitigate the risk, and also then identify the gaps with my panelists here to see how we can actually address those gaps, because that's really what this panel is for. So can I have my slides, please, if you don't mind? So, okay, can I go to the next slide? So, okay, the next slide just gives you an example with regards to a crop that has done so well, but it's not only oil palm, it's also rice, it's also cocoa, it's also coconut, and also livestock that have done well in countries in Asia. So Africa is the next frontier after Malaysia and Indonesia for oil palm. That's what we know in our country. And in Nigeria, palm oil now trades, at about 154% higher than the international prices, for those of you who do not know. Maybe if it's a 1,100 USD per ton of CPO, here in Nigeria it's about 1,400, 1,500. High profitability in local agro companies like Presco is doing extremely well, 4,000% since 2015. And if you look at Okomo as well as JB Farms, they are doing also extremely well. Funny story here, JB Farms is a company that AgriNexus International works closely with. They are technology partners as well as their management company. We developed 5,200 hectares in Oban, Cross River State, and now we are doing about 10,000 hectares in Ondo. And we just recently brought in a mill from Malaysia, lock, stock and barrel, about 140 containers, 45 ton per hour mill that we built in JB Farms. And again, it's something that we work very closely with a local partner. We started in 2016, have done extremely well in terms of bringing them to the 4th largest company in Nigeria after Wilmar, Presco, and Okomo. So global demand for oil palm and any of the fruit crop that we are talking about, I'm just using oil palm as an example, is increasing year on year, and that's why we are all here talking about livestock as well as agriculture. Next slide, please. So these are the key current challenges with regards to access to capital. Most African agro corporate faces liquidity desert. What do we mean by that? It's fragmented, inaccessible, capital inflow tends to favor trade finance, short-term import credit, and not for long-term plantation development or long-term livestock development and infrastructure. So because of the long gestation period, and that's difficult. Disconnect between the capital market access and project potential. And in this case, what you're getting is looking for bankable documents. Looking to go to banks, it may be African Development Bank or may be the World Bank or any of the local banks here to basically make our projects bankable. And that's not easy because obviously you will need to look at, a project which you can de-risk and basically show that you have that international quality. Local banks lack capital, public markets are underdeveloped. Lending tenures here in Nigeria, I know most of the time is, nowadays have gone up to about 5 years, but between 1 to 5 years. Interest rates are between 15 to 25% in some markets. And risk for appetite for greenfield project is low. Collateral demands, freehold land and hard title are often impractical. Developers are forced to rely on bilateral private debt of foreign capital and increasing currency and currency risk. And then you've got also development institution support has been limited in its reach to private and non-listed projects. So next slide. So again, the role for private credit, and private credit is now more available, even in the form of blended financing. Credit is probably more what is more favorable rather than equity coming into businesses, again because of the risk factor. Global private credit market is projected to about 2.6 trillion by 2029, creating an opportunity for large-scale agro-industry investments. And then we look at focus areas in agro infrastructure, plantation, renewable energy, real estate, industrial development, and accessing financing gaps left by traditional banks. Next slide. So what is the risk in terms of lending to agro projects? What are the risks that we are talking about? One is country risk, right? So political risk, instability, regulatory uncertainties. We've got foreign exchange restriction created by currency devaluation risk, repayment difficulties in borrowing is in foreign currency. Project needs to be built in currency risk. We need to mitigate those risks by hedging the commodity that we are working with in order not to fall into that that gap of actually when the currency devalues. Then you got credit rating. Most of the banks outside the country, in fact, most of the banks require you to have credit rating, and we don't have an international independent credit rating company that can credit rate the agriculture or livestock projects and give it an international rating. We need one which is locally familiar with the local setups. Then you've got agriculture and environmental and legal risk. So you've got agriculture project faced with weather variabilities, pest and disease threats, which we are not used to because sometimes having understood what pests and diseases there are in maybe Asia is obviously very different than what it is in Africa, for obvious reasons. You got environmental compliance risk. You need EIA, HCV, HCG, ESG, and then you've got legal risk as well in terms of land tenure permits. Throughout the due diligence, you'll need feasibility, EIA, or now we have SHIA, which is environmental, social, health impact assessments, legal due diligence, and then you've got also ESG compliance. And risk sharing instruments are crucially for bankability. And you need all of this for bankability. So you just can't have an agriculture project and try to raise debt or equity if you don't have all of this ready, and all of this costs money for you to do if you're going onto that level. Promoter and efficient risk. Investors are confidence depend heavily on the sponsor's track record, depth of management expertise, and the ability to adopt technology to improve productivity and reduce costs, strong management, local knowledge, proven technology, technical partners, and plantation mill supply chain, and increased productivity and efficiency are key risk mitigators. And again, very, very important, because we want to just make sure that if you're going into these projects, you want to ensure that the project is going to take off or is set up in a correct manner. So you need to now rely on the promoter himself. Next slide. Next slide. I'm just going to go. This is a company that we are working with regards to credit risk and private credit that is out of US. And again, they are looking at developing huge commercial projects in Africa as well as in Nigeria. And we have a few projects. I just want to give you an example of some of that projects so that you understand that. Let's go next slide, please. And next slide. I think this one is, again, I just am quite sensitive about the time. I know, Richard, that we are quite short, so I'm just trying to push on a bit. So these are some of our current projects. AgriNexus International, founded in 2005. We've got 4,000 hectares in Myanmar that we are managing, 15,000 hectares with JB Farms, Nigeria, started in 2016. We've worked with them. I'm the plantation director for that. 15,000 hectares in same group in Sierra Leone, and 123,000 hectares of a smallholder program in Delta State. We finished 33,000 hectares in terms of evaluating the project. We've got all the smallholders to sign on for the project, and currently we're raising for 36,000 hectares debt in order for them to develop that land bank into oil palm. And AI's pipeline is the rest of it. So shall we just go on to the next slide? So I think, you know, that's a good sort of introduction to a commercial oil palm project, a commercial agriculture project of large size. But I think one of the things that we want to focus a little on is on the small blended financing that my panelist here brings. And again, from that introduction of what I've given, I want to now ask the critical question in terms of monies. When you talk about funding, typically we ask, the question is, what is the ticket size? If I was going to come for funding for you in any of the areas that you are dealing with, what would be the ticket size? What would be the tenure? What would be the interest? And what would be your the size of funds that you have available, and how much of it is available for people out there to consider funding opportunities with you guys? Can I start with Mel first and then follow on?
Okay, thank you very much. Sasakawa, as an organization, is part of the Nippon Foundation of Japan. The Nippon Foundation is the largest philanthropic organization in Japan. And the Sasakawa Africa Foundation is the agriculture arm or agriculture division of the Nippon Foundation. We provide catalytic funding to initiate and scale up agriculture technologies in Africa. And we work very closely with the ministries of agriculture in all these countries where we work to be able to embed these technologies in the hands of farmers at the grassroots level. We initially pilot, validate, and scale up some of these technologies, those which meets the criteria in terms of acceptability and adoption by farmers, are massively scaled up in partnership with the governments. So we have worked across 17 African countries the past 4 decades, and there's one important thing that we've learned. Funding does not flow where there's no trust, infrastructure, or capability. You must have those 3 key areas: trust, infrastructure, and capability. And there are several important areas. Partnerships come into mind. Partnerships that anchor finance in the real economy is a key. And we work across the entire value chain, working closely with partners to remove all the constraints that usually limits adoption to some of these technologies. So what we consider critical is partnerships with farmer-based organizations, like those who are represented in this room, local agricultural SMEs, and producer cooperatives are extremely key to us, because these are the entry points for de-risking finance, no matter what you do. How does this work? Working with them, they help to aggregate demand and supply, they understand community dynamics, and they can absorb financing and technical support when bundled together. And this is where bundling finance come in. And for women and youth especially, we work with them to help access finance, which goes hand in hand with access to land, inputs, extension, and markets. So blended finance must be embedded in this ecosystem of services in the entire agriculture value chain. You must work with all these groups. Second, delivery partnerships is extremely important. Partnerships that connect finance to impact. We need delivery partnerships with organizations. A good example is an organization like ours that are present on the ground and working with the farmers at the last mile. We are a last mile organization. We help do the heavy lifting to make sure that technologies are in the hands of farmers. Now, there's a very big common mistake made when financing big or small agriculture projects. Blended finance is often too top-heavy, designed at continental or capital levels without trusted actors to implement that on the ground. And this is where we come in as a trusted actor, working as a last-mile delivery organization with the farmers. So we work through national extension services, training institutions, work with a lot of universities in Africa, and different community-based organizations, NGOs, and many other actors along the ground to deliver capacity building, access to technology, and especially for youth and women-led agri-enterprises. And without these boots on the ground, partnerships, the financing simply won't reach or resonate. So I'll give you just 2 examples real quick. I'll take the example of Ethiopia, where we have a very heavy presence there. Sasakawa is being credited with the agriculture transformation in Ethiopia, the entire agriculture transformation in Ethiopia. If you ask anyone, Ethiopia will tell you that, from the president all the way down. And how did this come in? We brought in catalytic investments, bringing in funding, working with the Ministry of Agriculture Extension personnel, piloting new technologies, carrying out demonstrations, working with farmers to adopt them. And those which meets the cut, the government brings in additional funding to scale them up at national level. And I'll just give one example of the wheat transformation in Ethiopia. Ethiopia currently is one of the few countries in Africa which is self-sufficient in wheat. It just didn't happen by chance. At Sasakawa, we did the heavy lifting, carrying out demonstrations across the country, working together with government extension personnel, and the government put in extra funding with additional support from the African Development Bank, they brought in heavy funding to scale up all those wheat varieties which are heat tolerant across the entire country. Then they added the irrigation component to get into wheat production off season in the lowlands, where irrigated wheat is now being heavily produced, and Ethiopia is self-sufficient in wheat. Let me come just to Nigeria as a last example. We've been working with the Kano state government on a very important program on Kano State Agro-Pastoral Project funded by the Islamic Development Bank, and we've been helping them in the crop value chain within this project. There's also a livestock value chain attached to it. Now, we've been championing demonstrations in Kano and the rest of Nigeria on important agriculture technologies. And when this project came up, it's a $120 million project. We were invited as a partner to help scale up some of these technologies to ensure that productivity is increased and mechanization is increased to be able to cut down on labor drudgery. So we introduced a lot of new technologies. We introduced a lot of mechanization equipment for agro-processing and other areas. And through those demonstrations, Kano State now has given more money to be able to mechanize Kano as a policy. And they're purchasing and distributing a lot of mechanization equipment to all the farmers in Kano State to ensure that the whole state is mechanized. So just to say the last things.
Yeah, please.
So we need four interconnected partnerships, just to finalize. Farmer-based structures for aggregation accountability, the implementation partners who work in the last mile, and knowledge partners for learning and risk analysis, and bring in the policy partners for structured demand at scale. So that is what needs to be done to bring co-creation with credibility to be able to bring in blended finance to make a change. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay. So I've got maybe, another 10 minutes on this, and then actually we have an hour, and I'm ahead of schedule, but I know we're short of, we're running to lunch. So I've been told to speed up things. So I'm sorry, but can I just have 2 minutes of the same question? To yourself, Ernest, please.
Thank you. The questions were around what's the size of funding available, the pricing, the cost of credit, and all of that. Well, when we look at our situation in Nigeria, the problem has not been one of liquidity per se, available size of fund to finance agriculture. It's not the issue.
Right.
And so what is the problem? And it is at that level that we are coming. And that's very appropriate because here is a statutory agency that has a certain capital appropriation from government. So the idea is, how do you deploy this fund to address that problem and therefore open the way for private capital to flow? Mm-hmm. Because the resources are there from the private commercial system. So one of the problems that has limited the flow of finance to the agricultural sector, particularly for smallholder farmers that constitute the cutting edge of the food system in Nigeria, is the issue of the highly dispersed nature of smallholder primary production. It's a major problem. And along with that problem of the highly dispersed nature is the issue of attitudes to external third-party finance. So if we're able to solve that problem, then of course private capital will flow on its own. So the approach taken by this, by the NADF is focusing on farmer clustering, smallholder farmer aggregation. We see it as a silver bullet because if you bring smallholder farmers together, you'll be able to deploy extension service as we speak. In some locations, you have one extension agent to 18,000 farmers. Of course, the 2025 report of the Nigerian Agricultural Extension Research and Liaison Services is showing an average of 13.6% of smallholder farmers accessing agricultural extension service. With farmers left to do the traditional thing they do in their various corners, even if you give credit at 1% or 0%, that credit will not come back.
Correct.
So farmer aggregation as a problem. And to do this, we are looking out to working with the River Basin Development Authorities, the National Agency for Agricultural Land Development, NALDA, and other institutions that have very large land holding, very close to communities where you have farming clusters with certain specific crop advantages or agricultural livestock enterprise advantages. And developing these resources so that we can bring smallholder farmers to work on these estates. And along with this, bringing them together in geographic clustering, not just the typical cooperative society, cooperatives in name, but cooperative in terms of the production asset that makes extension service delivery, deployment of agricultural mechanization, and embedding reliable market through guaranteed offtake. Bring all of that together and let the smallholder farmer operate within this context. That way, you can have a control of cash flow in terms of the investment in the production cost items. You have control of cash flow in terms of evacuation of produce and repatriation of proceeds. With that in place, you find out that credit collection will be enhanced, and at 100% credit collection, the external financing that participates in this scenario is safe and can now be scaled. So this is NADF's approach.
I think I like to add to that, Ernest. What you're saying is what Felda in Malaysia that had 600,000 hectares developed in a cooperative manner. Each smallholder has about 2 hectares. It's a family, and they manage 2 hectares. And in that way, they have basically got a cooperative, Felda, and then they listed, and one of the biggest listing of an oil palm project, and all of them actually, all the smallholders made money. So I think the way that you're thinking about it should be the way that we're thinking about how we should do it here in Nigeria and Africa.
That's right. And that way as well, we are able to actually operationalize these dormant assets that are lying waste. When we were listening to the presentation in the morning about the Chinese entity that has traversed Nigeria and seen a lot of idle land, and you have a lot of this really. So using this model, we'll not only be operationalizing these idle lands, putting them to commercial viable production, the water and irrigation management infrastructure of the River Basin Development Authorities will now use this to service these clusters and therefore migrate from rain-fed system to water-managed production system that enables you to do various cycles. And when you're able to do 3 cropping cycles of a particular crop, the interest rate the commercial financier charges will not be a concern for you because these things are charged on a per annum basis. And then when you deploy extension service, you are using the inputs the right way. Your productivity per hectare also is enhanced.
Agreed.
So we are struggling with 1.5 tons per hectare for a crop like soy or sesame, when you can actually do between 2, 3, and in some regions in the world, we are doing 6 tons of some of these commodities.
Thank you.
So that way, pricing. And so if we solve this problem through aggregation, commercial financing will come and do what it's supposed to do.
Agreed. Thank you. Yourself, Shoba, so your points on this.
All right, thank you. So I'll speak from a different perspective. I mean, at some point you said these are the money guys. So these three are the money guys. I'm here for the farmers.
Right.
Do we have farmers in the room? Oh, great. Right. So we are
That's
here.
your man.
We are here to take the money from them. All right. So I'll be speaking primarily from that perspective, and I'll tell you some of the things we've done at Heifer. I think one of the critical things we need to consider is mindset shift and how we view risk. We need to, how do we see smallholder farmers and agribusiness entrepreneurs? Do we see them as helpless people who need some aid, or do we see them as business partners? Because if we see them as business partners, we'll begin to address their problems as something that we all have a role in, right? So what have we done at Heifer, for example? I'll cite a couple of examples. We have a product or a project we call Pay-As-You-Go Tractor Financing Project. As he has mentioned, it's very critical to leverage the capacity, the existing capacity of these farmers, but it's best done when you bring them together as a group. So what we did, we provided catalytic capital. And through our partner, Hello Tractor, we purchased some tractors, right? And we made it available to young agripreneurs who could aggregate demand. So one, demand was aggregated. And then these tractors were given because Heifer had paid ahead. And as you service these farms, you now pay back. And we have about 96% repayment rate.
Excellent.
So it's worked.
Yeah.
We co-convened the Mechanization Stakeholder Summit with NEDF months back, and this was the reason we were in that room. And we're engaging the federal government at a higher level to expand that model. We have another product, Area Yield Index Insurance, where we took the risk as well. To even finish the Hello Tractor success story, so our initial investment in the Hello Tractor model was $1 million. We expanded it with additional $3.5 million across 3 countries. That's $4.5 million. A few months down the line, or about a year after, we're able to stimulate commercial capital investment worth over $17 million outside our own catalytic capital.
Right.
So because we took that risk, we're able to stimulate commercial investment from people like John Deere. And now Hello Tractor has investment worth tens of millions of dollars. So we as critical players in the space need to view risk differently, close the gaps where possible. So for example, in our Area Yield Index Insurance project, where we partner with Leadway, Leadway is in the room, to provide insurance cover for smallholder farmers. But what have we done? We took the risk again to pay premium ahead, and that's where data comes in. What's happened over the years? Is there possibility of flooding here or soil moisture loss? What's been the output in this area, right? Those are some of the things that guide where we invest or where we support farmers.
Sure.
And then what are the gaps? You notice that the huge gap they had in some of these locations were access to market. So we provided that. At the farmer's gate, when you've cultivated your rice, for example, there's Olam, for example, right at the farmer's gate of taking. So when you've closed that access to market gap, you see that you've sort of de-risked that investment. So we pay premium ahead, provide access to market, and we're waiting right at the gate as the off-taker is taking the produce and paying you, we withdraw that premium.
Right.
And keep it as a revolving fund to onboard more farmers. And we've tried it over the past 4 or 5 years. There's been instances of flooding, there's been instances of drought, and these farmers have actually claimed, right, gotten their claims. So now we're also changing behavior because at the new farming season, they're even the ones that opt to pay the premium because they see the impact. We've also tried it across different spaces. We have a project, solar-powered irrigation pump, it's a lease financing project as well, right? And what we try to do is to leverage response feedback mechanisms to keep tailoring and fine-tuning these products based on feedback from the last mile. So what I'd say is we need to view these farmers or smallholder farmers differently. We need to understand that they've been there for donkey years and their experience must count for something. When the experience is existing, what's missing? Do we help them form self-help groups? Do we build their social capital? Do we provide them necessary linkages? And not just capacity building for the sake of it, but tailored capacity building that address specific gaps that now make them stronger, make their agribusinesses more viable, and make them better qualified for the financial products that they are asking for. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. There you go. And Richard is really moving his hands because he's telling me I have to really rush. But I'm going to allow for 3 questions after this. So Benga, over to you just for 1 or 2 minutes. And sorry, Richard, we're going to move.
Okay, thank you. I think my comment is for us to understand, to have a proper understanding of smallholder farmers, right? You know, at times when you see people like us and talk, we wear tie, people believe, okay, it's from Lagos, he probably does not understand what time it is. I still have a warehouse in Megatari. I have a farm in Bakolori, that's in Talatamafara.
Right.
I have a farm in Taloka village in Goroyo.
Right.
So I understand perfectly well what it is. But I think the challenge is also coming from banking perspective. For us to have a proper understanding of the nature of collateral. You see, we can't run away from having structures in place to fix the value chain. And it's interesting, the president of All Farmers Association of Nigeria is there. The last time we met, we were in Sokoto together. We wanted to launch a scheme to speak to how to galvanize that sector. Today, if you have a bag of rice in a village in Sokoto, you know that's collateral. If you have a bag of beans, that's collateral. But the question is, how do you transform that into a proper collateral that a lender will see as collateral?
Biological assets is what you're talking about.
So for us, there are a lot of latent capital, idle capital. And we can't have this conversation without speaking to warehousing and the role of commodity exchanges. 4 things can happen in a warehouse, and that's where I'm going to end my conversation. 4 things. If you have a warehouse, it can serve as a marketplace, in which case, rather than go to a 9-day market or a weekly market, you bring your produce to that warehouse, you sell to me, right? Or you have a warehouse, you just finish harvesting maize, rice season is upon us, but you don't want to sell your maize because you just believe, you know the way it works. After harvest, the price is a bit low. Okay, take my maize, I want to plant rice. Can you give me input financing? Hold on to my maize as collateral. Give me input financing to plant rice. That's second option, right? The third option is, okay, I've harvested my maize. I'm pressed for money, but I don't want to sell everything. Can you give me something like maybe a 30% to meet my immediate need? In which case, we discuss what is called loan to value, if you are a conventional bank. For us in NIB, which is non-interest, we have our own operations, right? The way we structure it. But I will be speaking to both banking practices. So you can have loan to value. I store my corn, give me 70% of it, be watching the market. When the market price is coming close, you tell me, should I bring more corn to support what I have, or I sell this, and I take my money? We take something for warehousing because there's no charity, it's not Salvation Army. Everybody must earn something. Then the fourth one is a combination of everything. So you just take money, then you tell me that you can even store. Sorry, the fourth one is storage. Because you have atomistic farmer, they might not be able to store. Okay, I don't want to sell, I don't want to store. Then I'm not going to pay you in monetary terms, but when I'm taking my produce, I give you 2 bags. I give you 3 bags.
Barter.
is better.
Yep.
So for us in NIB space, we do a lot in Salam. The last one I did for a major rice mill in Lagos. What did we do? We raised a Salam, a rice note. So we raised funds from people that ordinarily would be buying rice. They gave us money. We used that one to support cultivation of paddy. Then in 90 days, 120 days, you take your delivery. So when we talk about blended finance, it's not one size fits all. You need to be innovative. You need to be out there. And for the younger people, which is, our population is, the demographics is massive. Most people have money in savings accounts today, earning less than 6%. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that all those scammers scam using agricultural technology. We can give you 50% returns. Okay. We can give you 40% returns. Such returns don't exist.
Right.
The fact is, if you are able to create products that can mop up liquidity, and you can even get something above savings rate, young people will invest in it. So I think there's also a nexus that capital market needs to play. I mentioned digital assets. The easy asset to tokenize today are commodities. Yeah. If you have it in a warehouse, you issue a note, the commodity is there. You trade as the commodity is appreciating in the market. Not only are you mobilizing cheap deposits, you're also speaking to the upcoming generation, because it's not everybody that will be tilling the soil. There is massive role across the value chain for everybody to play. That would be my submission.
Okay, Benga, thank you very much. Dr. Richard is there behind me, so he's asked me for a hard stop. Can I get one question? Can I get one question from the floor? Okay, I know, yes, please, one question from the floor. Please go ahead. Is there a mic? Before you ask your question, fantastic, again, fantastic. Is the mic coming for this gentleman in front here? Is there a mic coming? Thank you. So fantastic, the panelists have done a fantastic job in terms of giving you all this blended methodology of funding. But please, sir.
Okay, good afternoon all. I just want to ask a question because the last speaker has spoken about a project that I remember we planned the project even together, and then if they can consider all of them, because there is issue now, you can see the issue of pricing of commodities. The prices of inputs are going high at all time, and then the prices of produce are going down. This is only happening in Nigeria. Then how can we now bring it together? You know, we know that during that time when we planned e-warehousing finance receipts system, I remember when he was in Sterling Bank, is also last speaker. We arranged that. And then, but the funding, that is where the problem was. Most of the commercial banks couldn't support the project, and that project is the one that we set up to, you know, to make the graph of prices go straight instead of going up and down. All the time when we are harvesting, prices crush down, and then the middlemen buy everything and store it. I could remember that time when we planned, was it 2 years? The price of soybean at that time was 18,000 naira during the harvest, and the farmers' margin profit was only 500 naira when we calculated. And for 120 days, farmer is battling in the field, and then after 30 days, after the middleman got it in their stores, then the price went up to 110,000 naira. This is what is happening with the farmers in the field. So we planned this in order to know that we can now make the graph so that the farmers will get value and will get profit of all the difficulties that they passed through and all the hard work, the labor that they did. But now, all the financial institutions, they are not talking on that line. And we, the association, we are always want to talk on that line. You know, in that line, we can now make the farmers assess the inputs. We have the input dealers, whereby we can know where our prices of inputs are. And from that angle, we will know when we can release our produce or when we can return it. And by so doing, at least even our borders that are for us, I can tell you, everywhere you go, our borders, our produce is going out. And then we are importing, and then our produce across the borders are going out during the harvest. This is what is happening, actually. So I want to know what the financial institutions, are they coming up in line with this? Are they coming up to help the farmers in this angle, where a farmer, if he harvests and he doesn't have the money to pay some kind of loans or debts that he's having, and then cater for his immediate needs, and then store that warehouse his produce, and then after a while, then he can now sell. And then after he sells, and then at that point, we can even look at, we don't want the prices to go high. You understand? We farmers, we are not wicked. Let me tell you, we are not wicked. But at least we want a profit margin that is good for people to stay in the business. Because if you look at it now, you heard over the media 3 months, 4 months back, or 2 months back, that even some of the maize farmers and the rice farmers, they are saying that they are not going back to farm. And ideal, what can you tell them? Can somebody go into a business that he will not get profit, or his money will not come back? So that is it.
Thank you, sir.
What are the financial institutions going to do about that? Can they allow us to come back and sit down?
Thank you. Mr. Benga.
Yeah, President, the answer is yes. You remember that as we were trying to set up that, you also ran into your own issues with your people. We didn't know who was who in terms of presidency, right? But we are very happy. Nobody is disputing that. You are now the de facto and de jure All Farmers Association of Nigerian President. It's a conversation that we need to have, because my answer, I've actually answered you, President, in terms of those 4 areas. Inside that, that's where the farmer fits, because at the end of the day, you have people that have bags of money. This is not only happening in agri, it's also happening in mining. When people have money, they dictate with price, because the farmer needs liquidity, immediate liquidity. If we can create a channel where the farmers know that if I bring this produce here, I'm going to sell it on this particular day. That's also very critical, because the farmer has incurred cost to bring his produce to that warehouse. He can't take it back. Those things could be perishable. He has incurred cost to bring it there. Then you don't need to game the market. Say, no, I'm not going to buy this. That's double loss. He's not going to sell that very day. He will now incur for that cost. So it's what we can design, right? It just needs commitment from both sides. And that's where structure is, because structure is what we fix this thing. In which case we speak to transparency, price discovery, accountability, and you know your role, I know my role. Then we all key to it. That's all there is around commodity exchange. That's what makes commodity exchanges work. But we don't need to set up something big. If we start small, we have proof of concept, then we can replicate across various regions and across multiple commodities.
Can I cut in there, please? Sorry. No, I think... Yeah, really. Benga, thank you so very much for that response. And again, like we said, this is one of the problems in the value chain that an agency like the National Agricultural Development Fund is created to solve. Actually, that arrangement is in place. Very soon, you will be hearing of a pilot program of commodity e-warehouse receipt system. So please, we would like to take that initial experience forward. There is a certified warehousing management agency that has agreed to work with one of the commercial banks to pilot the e-warehouse receipt system that addresses the problem about market and stabilizing price. That way, both the farmers are benefited, agro-processors are benefited, because everybody can plan on an even cash flow. So you'll be hearing, we are moving forward.
I want to
very
ask
soon.
a question. Are we going to hear it or are we going to be part of it? Because that's the problem.
Well,
if,
like you said-
if we are only hearing,
President.
then there is no synergy. and
President.
nothing-
President,
Yeah, sir.
I can assure you that you participate in it.
Better say that.
Your members are within the network
seats.
of these two warehouse management agencies
Excellent.
that form the heart of the system.
So there'll be
So you are covered.
We can have a back-end discussion as well. around
we are
this,
covered.
Just because we have very little time to work with, ladies and gentlemen, you will bear me out that this was star-studded. And we got value for every single bit of what we expected out of this panel. Dr. Pereira, please stand and alongside your panelists so that you will receive the recognition that you deserve. Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, this was rich conversation, very, very topical, and you dragged it right down into, the practicalities of what the sector is experiencing at the present time. The photographers, where are they? Yes, let's have that. While that is going on, we have in our midst a very interesting gentleman who had more or less, he had expressed his interest in being part of this from way back. Just give me a second. We will be leaving shortly for the breakout sessions. We don't have time on our hands. We're going to really, be very, very quick around it. There are 3 breakout sessions. I dare tell you that you're going to enjoy every minute of the time you're going to spend there. On account of the support that we've received, the first breakout session is going to be a HEFA International session. The topic of it is optimizing investment in livestock and dairy farming. Presenters are Dr. Ayode Akere, CEO, Jill Farms and Equipment, Dr. Lekon Tobe, Nigeria Country Director, HEFA International, and Alhaji Muhammad Yusuf Lere, Sain Lere, the President, Nigeria-Egypt Business Council. If I understand it, apart from the presenter, the other 2 gentlemen are the facilitators of that session. The next is the one dedicated to Solidaridad Network. Topic is optimizing investment in the crop value chain. Presenter is Mr. Kenechukwu Chudi Onwukwebe, Program Manager, Solidaridad West Africa. The facilitators are Mrs. Ebelechukwu Nwachukwu, the MD CEO of Rex Insurance Limited, and Ms. Uzoamaka Ugochukwu, Public Sector Engagement Specialist for Chorus International. Finally, we have that which is dedicated to the government of Denmark. The topic there is cold chain, catalyzing investment and market access. The presenter there is Ms. MS Victoria Pelle, Commercial Advisor, Trade Council of Denmark in Sub-Saharan Africa. Your facilitators for that session will be Engineer Jerry Cunningham, Managing Director, American West Africa Agro Limited, and Professor Francis Toromade, Director General, Feed Industry Practitioners Association of Nigeria. While we are gearing up to go for that session, ladies and gentlemen, let me recognize the Honorable Nwa David Chijoke, the National Coordinator of the National Committee on Energy Efficiency, Innovation, and Certification. He is here in person. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, Honorable. We would have wanted you to say a few words, but we will go for the breakout session. When we're back, we'll give you that time to also having garnered in a few, feed inputs from the breakout session. We'll give you a time to, say a few remarks to the audience. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your breakout session. How do you go? I think it's this way. As you go out now, there is one facing you, I think, directly, and then there's another to your left, but the ushers are going to have to make this work. Thank you very much, ushers. Let's direct the delegates and the panelists and all of our special guests as they pick which one they want to attend. But my promise to you again is this is gonna rock, you know, make your day. It's gonna rock your day. Thank you very much. The time we have there is abridged. My colleague Jemima Sheku, is she there? Jemima? I think we have 30 minutes to do this and reconvene in order to have another session that again is guaranteed to wow you. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Please, the ushers should help us out and make sure that this movement is well coordinated and that the sessions get going immediately. Please facilitate the movement even of the facilitators. I see Engineer Cunningham is still here.